Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Newer oral anticoagulants. This is a clotting cascade which we are all very familiar with. The extrinsic pathway and the intrinsic pathway, finally culminating into formation of fibrin polymer, leading to platelet adherence and aggregation. So, as we know, both the extrinsic pathway and the intrinsic pathway, they converge on the activation of factor 10, which converts prothrombin to thrombin. That is the final enzyme of the clotting cascade. This thrombin then converts fibrinogen from soluble plasma protein into an insoluble fibrin clot. So the resultant local generation of fibrin in turn enmeshes and reinforces the platelet plaque, causing the aggregation of platelets. So this is the final common pathway. So clotting cascade and propagation of the clot is a stepwise response amplification. What do we mean? Generation of small number of factor 7 molecule will activate many molecules of factor 10, which generates larger number of thrombin molecule which convert even higher number of fibrinogen to fibrin. So, and furthermore, it is a positive feedback loop. Here we can see how thrombin, a small initial amount of thrombin generated, activates factor 11 in a feedback manner, leading to amplification of thrombin generation. So it is a positive feedback loop. Our NOACs, they act at this particular level. They inhibit, we have the direct factor 10A inhibitors, we have the direct thrombin inhibitors. Direct factor 10A inhibitors, this is the step with the ATAC, and direct thrombin inhibitors. So they inhibit this positive feedback loop. Coming to the direct thrombin inhibitors, they prevent thrombin from cleaving fibrinogen to fibrin. They bind to thrombin directly rather than by enhancing the activity of antithrombin as is done by heparin. So we have parenteral direct thrombin inhibitors. The only oral DTI available in clinical use is dabigatran. Very important, just one, Pradaxa or dabigatran, direct thrombin inhibitor. The only oral DTI. So direct factor 10A inhibitor. As you can see, there is no parenteral drug available at present. It prevents factor 10A from cleaving prothrombin to thrombin. They bind directly to factor 10A rather than enhancing the activity of antithrombin as again done by heparin. So the oral agents available, only oral agents are available. What do we have? Rivaroxaban or Xarelto, Apixaban, Eliquis, Edoxaban, and the new drug Betrixaban. So we are supposed to know all these names and even the market name, because usually they are prescribed as Xarelto, Eliquis, etc. So what are the indications of NOAC? Various indications have been prescribed. So they have been used for venous thromboembolism prophylaxis, for non-orthopedic and orthopedic procedure, also for individual cancer EVT treatment with or without cancer. Most of the studies are available in this particular group, that is the atrial fibrillation group, to prevent stroke. Also, currently they are being used for acute coronary syndromes and in cases of heparin-induced thrombocytopenia. So, how are they different from warfarin? So, warfarin, as you can see, it has a once daily administration, whereas most of the NOACs have a twice daily recommendation. So more frequent use of DTI, most frequent dosing of DTI you see. Dietary restriction. For warfarin, as we know, we need a constant vitamin K intake. The DTI, they have non-dietary recommendation. So except for rivaroxaban. Okay, this we'll discuss later on. Monitoring we'll discuss later. Okay. Time in therapeutic range. Approximately 65% based on clinical trials. However, DTI are expected to be superior to warfarin, although therapeutic ranges have not been established as is established for warfarin. Reversal agent for warfarin we are aware of. For dabigatran and the factor Xa inhibitors, we will discuss the inhibitors in the subsequent lectures. So, what are the advantages over heparin and warfarin of these NOACs? They are associated with lower bleeding risk. The laboratory monitoring of DOAC is generally used without, DOACs are generally used without requiring any monitoring of drug levels or even coagulation time. However, still, remember these, where do we still prefer heparin and or warfarin? In cases of patients with prosthetic heart valves, cases with pregnancy, renal impairment, prefer heparin or warfarin over your NOACs. Cases of severe liver disease, antiphospholipid syndrome, where there is poor compliance, because as we remember, compliance have a single daily use, and GI diseases. We do not have studies supporting use of NOACs in these particular set. So in these cases, still prefer your heparin or warfarin. Coming directly to the drugs, dabigatran. Dabigatran, remember, it is a prodrug, which is rapidly converted to dabigatran by plasma exterases. Dabigatran is a competitive and reversible blockade, causes competitive and reversible blockade of thrombin. In turn, this block of thrombin mediated conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin, feedback activation, coagulation and platelet activation. So what are the therapeutic uses? It was the first NOAC that was studied and FDA approved. This was based on the RELY trial. In contrast to VKA, that is your vitamin K inhibitors, dabigatran has no major drug-food interaction and few drug-drug interaction. The usual dose is 150 mg twice daily. In certain indication, you use 110 mg BD. This is usually for patients with high risk of bleed and age over 80 years. These are again based on the trials. The dose reduction is required for dabigatran if it is administered in severely renal impairment. As I already told, for severely renally impaired patient, prefer your heparin and warfarin. When given in fixed doses, dabigatran produces a predictable anticoagulant response that routine coagulation monitoring is not necessary. So, although dabigatran, what is the effect on the coagulation status? It prolongs APTT, but the values plateaus with higher drug levels. It causes an unreliable effect on INR. So, again, INR cannot be used for monitoring dabigatran. The test, if required, that we use is the diluted thrombin time. The oral bioavailability of dabigatran is around 6%. Onset is 2 hours. That is how quick it acts, with a T-half of 12 to 14 hours. Okay. The bioavailability of the drug is altered if the capsule is chewed or broken. So very important, very commonly used drug. Know about dabigatran. Ask your patient to swallow the capsule whole. As far as pharmacokinetics are concerned, dabigatran is 35% bound with plasma protein and 80% is excreted in kidney. Again, I re-emphasize, avoid in patients with renal impairment, 80% unchanged in kidney but has no hepatic metabolism. So according to the American College of Cardiology, adult dosing 150 mg per orally twice daily. Most of the NOACs BD doses compared to warfarin, which is OD. Hepatic impairment, no dose adjustment. Certain renal impairment doses adjustment has been given, but avoid. So coming to the RELY trial, it was done in atrial fibrillation in patients with risk of stroke. Look at the number of patients, 18,000 patients were included. It was a dabigatran versus warfarin trial. It was found that dabigatran given at the doses of 110 mg was associated with rates of stroke and systemic embolism that was similar to warfarin. Okay, the result, it is similar to warfarin, as well as lower rates of major hemorrhages were noted. Coming to the direct factor Xa inhibitors, these are direct, reversible, competitive and selective inhibitor of factor Xa. These are the drugs that are commonly available. Coming to rivaroxaban, it was the second NOAC after dabigatran to be approved by FDA and EMA. It is rapidly absorbed. Again, the peak concentration comes in 2 to 4 hours compared to warfarin, which we remember the peak concentration, but here it is just 2 to 4 hours, similar to dabigatran. Half-life again 9 to 13 hours, but the renal excretion is just 35%. Approximately 2/3 of administered dose of rivaroxaban are metabolized by liver. Therefore, concomitant treatment with cytochrome P450 enzymes and P-glycoprotein inhibitors such as itraconazole and voriconazole is contraindicated because it increases the risk of bleeding. So the dose is 20 mg once daily with large meal to increase the bioavailability. The trial which supports rivaroxaban is the ROCKET AF. It was a double-blind study. Again, look at the number, 14,000 patients. It was non-inferior to warfarin for the prevention of stroke and systemic embolism, and there was no significant difference in the risk of major bleeding, although intracranial bleeding and fatal bleeding occurred less frequently in rivaroxaban group. Coming to the next drug in the same category, apixaban. It is again well absorbed, achieving peak plasma concentration in 1 to 4 hours. Dosing 5 mg BID or 2.5 mg BID. The trial that supports it is the Aristotle trial. Okay. So in Aristotle trial again, in patients with atrial fibrillation, it was found superior to warfarin in preventing stroke and cystic embolism. First trial which shows superiority to warfarin. Dabigatran, rivaroxaban, same result. It caused less bleeding. Apixaban caused less bleeding, significantly fewer intracranial bleeds, but GI bleed was similar, and it resulted in lower mortality, okay, compared to now. You see how we are growing as NOACs are considered. The last drug of the group that we discussed, that is the edoxaban. It is recently approved by FDA, but still does not have approval from the EMA. It is again rapidly absorbed, reaches peak plasma concentration in 1 to 2 hours, similar to both the previous group. 50% eliminated by kidney. Dose should be reduced by 50%, so for moderately to severe renal impairment. Okay. So this is the comparative analysis of dabigatran, rivaroxaban, apixaban and edoxaban. So we know dabigatran is the direct thrombin inhibitor compared to rivaroxaban. It is XA band. All the 10A inhibitors are 10. It is XA, 10A band. You ban the 10A. So rivaroxaban, apixaban, edoxaban, these are factor 10A inhibitors. Dabigatran is a prodrug. So coming to the bioavailability, look at the bioavailability. 6% for dabigatran. Rivaroxaban 100% with food. Okay, so rivaroxaban always give with food. Coming to the half-life, look at the half-life, smaller half-life compared to warfarin. Dabigatran 12 to 17, almost comparable half-lives. Time to achieve peak plasma concentration. We have already, just to re-emphasize, within 1 to 4 hours you achieve the peak plasma concentration in all this group. Coming to the excretion. The renal excretion, dabigatran maximum renal excretion, so avoid in renal patient. Rivaroxaban, apixaban and edoxaban, still renal excretion. Liver metabolism, no liver metabolism by dabigatran, so can be given. No dose adjustment is required, but for the 10A group, they have hepatic metabolism. As we said in rivaroxaban, it is metabolized by cytochrome P450. Now, how to measure effect? For dabigatran, as I said, diluted thrombin time, APTT may be used, but the effect plateaus. Or also a test, efferent clotting time can be used. So an APTT level after 12 to 24 hours of ingestion of more than equal to 2 upper limit of normal, or ECT more than equal to 3 times the normal value, may be associated with higher risk of bleeding. So in a center you do not have DT3 ECT, APTT may be used. So more than 2 upper limit, it is indicative that patient may be at a higher risk of bleeding. So for factor 10A inhibitors, every drug and every different level have a different effect on PT-APTT, so cannot be used. So this is a chart showing what all tests can be used. For dabigatran, dilated thrombin time, ECT, APTT and PT. APTT may be used with no change in PT. For factor 10 inhibitors, anti-factor 10A levels can be used, or no change in PT, APTT, no change in, but causing no change in dilated thrombin time and Acarine clotting time. So, compared to vitamin K and heparins, we can see how the response is different. Vitamin K antagonist, PT, this is PT-INR is the test that we used to monitor the effect of warfarin. Heparin, APTT we use. For direct thrombin inhibitors, we have just discussed what we use. Okay. So this is a chart showing the dosage recommendation in various conditions for dabigatran, rivaroxaban, apixaban and all the drugs. Now, risk and prevention of bleeding with oral anticoagulants. Very, very important, because most of the time the patient we receive in ICU is a patient who is on some NOAC and presents to us with bleeding. So, 3 major randomized trials has been conducted: Aristotle, Rely and Rocket for the various drugs. Aristotle for apixaban, Rely for dabigatran, Rocket A for rivaroxaban. So, overall all bleeding rate was lower with NOACs as compared to warfarin. There is a small increased risk overall. This is talking about overall of comparable of all these 3 trials. Small increased risk of intracellular hemorrhage when compared with patients not receiving any oral anticoagulant. Any. It's not compared to warfarin. So there was a small increased risk of ICH compared with patient not receiving any oral anticoagulant. So bleeding risk highest for rivaroxaban, 144 per 1000, but it is almost comparable in all the group. Lowest for apixaban, dabigatran and warfarin. We know in that study it was said that dabigatran and warfarin was in Rely trial almost similar risk of bleeding. So we can see 120, 113. Okay, so highest with rivaroxaban, lowest with apixaban. This is the data we have till now. So management of bleeding in a patient who presents with a history of NOAC, consider that if the patient is presenting, anticoagulation to have resolved fully after 5 half-lives have elapsed from the last dose. So it is important to know the T-halves of this group. After 5 half-lives, the drug do not stay in the body, but this is with normal renal function. Okay. So T-halves and the 5 times the T-half. Okay, so approximately by 3 days, 4 days we can see of the last dose, the effect goes away. The reversal strategy, why do we use NOAC? Because we have reversal agents available also. Only desirable in patients with serious life-threatening bleeding who remains actively anticoagulant. So only in severely life-threatening bleeding. Specific reversal agent dabigatran, edarazumab, and for factor 10A inhibitors we have andexanet alpha. So other agents may be used if patient has presented with bleeding, like we used desmopressin. Drug removal from circulation and GI tract. Oral, some people have used oral charcoal for sequestration from the GI tract. There are certain non-specific agents like prothrombin complex concentrate which have been used in patient who presents with bleeding. So this is the dose recommendation for dabigatran, edarazumab 5 grams, apixaban, andexanet alpha is available. The initial dose depends on the dose of factor 10A inhibitor and the interval since the last dose. So for andexanet alpha you need to measure factor 10A levels. Or factor, your prothrombin concentrate can be used for rivaroxaban and other 10A inhibitors. The dose is 50 units per kg, but only for 10A inhibitors, not for dabigatran. Coming to edarazumab, it is a specific reversal agent produced from humanized mouse monoclonal antibody fragment. The antibody binds to dabigatran with an affinity 350-fold higher than dabigatran for thrombin. So it is a competitive, again, inhibitor, and essentially it becomes, because of the high affinity, it becomes irreversible. So, and this complex is then removed by the kidney. Edarazumab is infused as 2 intravenous boluses of 2.5 gram each. The dose was 5 gram. Coming to Edexonat alpha, designed as a decoy for oral factor Xa inhibitor, it is a recombinant analog of factor Xa. It acts by sequestering circulating factor Xa inhibitors, and it rapidly reverses the factor Xa activity. Another drug which is doing the round is Siraparantag. It is a synthetic small cationic molecule that is reported to bind dabigatran, rivaroxaban, apixaban, edoxaban. So for all NOAC, a wonder drug, but still not in use, practically not in use. Okay. So what is the perioperative management of a patient coming with NOAC? So minor surgery, major surgery. Approximately you can see stop before 2 to 3 days of surgery. Restart after 1 day. Major surgery, take a longer time, 3 to 4 days, and restart after 48 hours. Okay. So this you can remember the 5 half-lives of NOACs. Okay. So you are stopping 2 to 3 days prior to the surgery so that you achieve the 5 half-lives. So what is the latest recommendation? This is the January 20, these recommendation of publication January 28, 2019. It was an update published by AHA on fibrillation, management of fibrillation. This is where we stand right now as far as use of NOACs is considered. Edoxaban has been recently added to the list of all non-vitamin K oral anticoagulants, that is apixaban, dabigatran and rivaroxaban. Previously we just had 3, now we also have edoxaban. It can be used for stroke prevention in a patient of atrial fibrillation. Look at the recommendation, class 1 recommendation. NOACs are now recommended over warfarin, except in patients with moderate to severe mitral stenosis or prosthetic heart valve. See where we have reached in NOACs. Recommended over warfarin, AHA 2019 guideline. Again a class 1 recommendation. Renal and hepatic function should be tested before the use of NOAC and at least annually thereafter. In hepatic and renal dysfunction, still prefer heparin and warfarin or adjust the dose accordingly. Again a class 1 recommendation. In AF patients with CHAD and VAS score of more than equal to in men or more than equal to 3 in women, and a creatinine clearance of less than 15 ml per minute or who are on dialysis, it is reasonable to use warfarin or apixaban. We remember the pharmacokinetics of apixaban for oral anticoagulation, but level 2. Just for the sake of completion, I have added the update line. The weight loss combined with risk factor modification is recommended for overweight and obese patients with AF. Now, as far as reversal is concerned, adagrasib is recommended for the reversal of dabigatran in the event of life-threatening bleed or urgent procedures only. Okay. This is again a class 1 recommendation in only life-threatening bleed and urgent procedure, because these reversal agents, they cause a very rapid reversal and lead patient into a prothrombotic state. So you can have a prothrombotic complication. So only use in life-threatening and urgent procedures. Endenexanat alpha or the recombinant factor Xa can be useful for the reversal of rivaroxaban, apixaban, again in the event of life-threatening bleeding. This is, however, a class 2 recommendation. In at-risk atrial fibrillation patient who have undergone coronary artery stenting, double therapy with clopidogrel and low-dose rivaroxaban or dabigatran is reasonable to reduce the risk of bleeding as compared to triple therapy. So even ACS, this is where we stand right now. Again, weight loss combined with risk factor modification is recommended for overweight and obese patients. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ruchi.